Part 61. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 602. There are only 5 days left before the Chinese New Year, and Kudong Group is officially on holiday. In addition to the necessary left-behind personnel, most employees of the entire group have received more than 10 days of annual leave. Year-end benefits for employees include 2 months of additional salary, year-end red envelopes, year-end bonuses, equity awards, etc. This year's year-end bonuses are particularly high, with ordinary employees earning over RMB 10,000. For mid to senior level directors, year-end bonuses start from RMB 100,000 to RMB 150,000. Li Jie has always been generous to his employees and has continuously improved employee benefits since the company was founded. This year, the salary standard of Kudong Group has been raised to 14% salary, and many employees can get 16–20% salary, and departments with particularly good profits can even get more than 20% salary. Coupled with quarterly bonuses, half-year bonuses, year-end bonuses, year-end red envelopes, and equity dividends, the annual salary of even ordinary employees can reach more than 120,000. Before the holiday this year, Li Jie distributed 50 shares of company stock, dividend-paying virtual stock options, to all current employees, and the stock dividend increased by another 10,000 to 20,000. Not only are the salaries high, but the benefits are also great. Employees who have worked for 1 year can enjoy 7–15 days of paid annual leave, 100% medical insurance reimbursement, free breakfast and lunch subsidies, free supper after 8 p.m., taxis home and team building tours, etc. benefits. There is also a housing allocation plan, where employees can get low-interest loans when buying their first home, and the minimum down payment is only 15%. Employees who cannot afford a down payment can also choose to rent a house. The rent is lower than the market price. The company also provides certain subsidies. If you work for the company for more than 10 years, you can buy the property rights of the house at a low price. When Li Jie announced that more than 1,000 houses in the first phase of the new Jianguan city would be handed over next year, the whole company was excited, and old employees rushed to tell each other. It can be said that among the many major internet companies, Kudong Group's welfare benefits are also first-rate. Just like this year, Penguin also proposed a housing plan to provide housing loans of up to 300,000 yuan and 200,000 yuan to qualified employees in first and second-tier cities respectively. There is no interest on the loan, and there is no need for employees to provide physical guarantees. Employees only need to issue a house purchase contract. However, only 5% of employees can enjoy this benefit every year. It cannot compare with Kudong Group in terms of benefits and the number of employees it benefits. The substantial increase in employee compensation and benefits has also brought Li Jie's prestige in the company to its peak. As long as what he says, no one in the group dares to question it. This is both a good thing and a bad thing. But in Li Jie's opinion, at least for now, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. He can carry out his personal will without any hindrance and promote the rapid development of the group. In fact, when a person reaches a certain height, ability is not so important, and your subordinates will help you share all matters. What's more important is to be able to employ people with vision and structure. Li Jie is now less and less involved in the specific affairs of the group, leaving all work to the core management team. He is more concerned with specifying goals, strategies, development directions, and discovering problems. As a manager, having to do everything personally is not necessarily a good thing. Just like Chongzhen, if he had not been so diligent, maybe the Ming dynasty would not have perished so quickly. In the last few days of the new year, Li Jie was busy inspecting the group's affiliated factories and personally handing out year-end bonuses and New Year's goods to the workers. He is not worried about the head office, but he is worried that the factory management will cheat and deduct workers' benefits. Li Jie asked the president to set up an anonymous reporting mailbox. As long as any employee finds a problem at work or is treated unfairly, he can send him an anonymous email. There were too many emails for him to handle alone. Most of the emails were handled by the secretaries in the president's office. Only when serious problems were discovered would he personally intervene. In the second half of this year, a female intern reported via email that her department manager was blackmailing her into having a relationship on the pretext of becoming a regular employee. After Li Jie confirmed that what the female intern said was true and there was recording evidence, he directly fired the department manager and called the police. It is unavoidable to deal with power in the workplace, but this trend must be curbed, and if one is discovered, one must be killed to serve as a warning to others. The unspoken rule is universal, but that doesn't mean it's correct. What's more, it's difficult to distinguish between power-based transactions and sexual harassment in the workplace. Yuwu, in a toy factory. The downstairs of the staff dormitory was filled with male and female workers, mostly female workers. It was a dark place, at least 1,000 people. In the open space aside, there is a mountain-like pile of red New Year gift bags. Zhang Hongshan, the female manager of the toy factory, walked up to Li Jie and said, "Mr. Li, the workers are all here. Please say a few words." "Okay," Li Jie nodded to her and took the phone. Looking at the dark group of people in front of him, he cleared his throat and said, "The Spring Festival is coming soon. The company has prepared a New Year's gift package for everyone. Thank you for your hard work. Here, I also wish you all a Happy New Year in advance and everything goes well as one wishes." Li Jie didn't say much, and after a few simple words, he signaled to Zhang Hongshan that the employees could receive their New Year's goods. He also worked part-time, and what bothered him most back then was the long speeches from his leaders. If you give more bonuses and benefits, your employees will thank you from the bottom of their hearts. Otherwise, it will only make employees curse in their hearts. By this year, the basic salary of workers in the surrounding factories of Kudong Group has increased to 2,000 yuan, which averages 11.5 yuan an hour. They work 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, 2 hours of which are considered overtime, and an additional half-day shift on weekends. The salary is more than 3,500 yuan. If you include perfect attendance bonus, performance bonus, half-year bonus, year-end bonus, and other benefits, even a regular worker can get more than 4,000 yuan a month. Among mainland private companies, the salary level in factories affiliated to Kudong Group is the highest. At this time, the basic salary of workers in Taiwanese company CalmProtagonist was only about 1,300 yuan, and the monthly salary was between 2,200 yuan and 2,400 yuan. This was a common situation or even lower. Only the Shenzhen market will be slightly higher. Don't think that CalmProtagonist is too dark. Most private companies in the mainland will only become darker. CalmProtagonist will at least pay 5 insurances and 1 fund for its employees. Some companies have already complained that Kudong Group's wages are too high and its benefits are too good, which has disrupted the employment market. Fortunately, there is no such thing as malicious salary increase at this time. Otherwise, the charge of malicious salary increase would fall on Kudong Group. Disrupt the employment market. Li Jie just doesn't want to squeeze the labor force too much. Demographic dividend is not a compliment. Looking at the workers with beaming faces queuing up to receive New Year gift packs, Li Jie sighed softly in his heart, greeted Zhang Hongshan and other management, then got in the car with Bai Wei and the bodyguards and left. This time when he came to inspect, he didn't take Zhang Wenjun with him and sent her home for the holidays in advance. Zhang Wenjun has been working with him for a year, always on call, often working during the day and working overtime at night. Although she is very capable, she cannot squeeze others to death. Li Jie sat in the car, glanced at Bai Wei beside him, and put his arms around her waist naturally. Bai Wei looked out the car window, seemingly not noticing his movements. In the past half year, Li Jie also created some opportunities, but Bai Wei always kept aloof. She would not rule out simple intimate contact such as holding hands and hugging the waist, but it would not be possible to go further. One time, Li Jie couldn't get enough of her, so he tried to force him, but she got sick again and kicked him off her body. To be honest, he has never had so much trouble chasing a girl. If it weren't for the fact that he had promised Xiao Qiao, Li Jie would have wanted to give up. However, this Bai Wei isn't trying to play hard to get with him, is she? Toy factory, dormitory building for female workers. As soon as Yao Xiaoyan and the other girls returned to the dormitory, they couldn't wait to open the New Year's gift bags. The gift bag contains a New Year greeting message, a set of red New Year hats and scarves, an exquisite New Year calendar, and a large gift box. The gift box contains a bag of nut snacks, a box of chocolates, a tale of fine tea and a box of high-end traditional pastries. This hat and scarf look great. The calendar is beautiful too. There are also snacks and chocolates, so rich. The girls were very excited as they spoke to each other. This year's New Year's goods are much richer than they expected. What is this? A girl found a small rectangular gift box from the gift bag. After tearing open the wrapping paper, a mobile phone box was revealed inside. Mobile phone? There is actually a mobile phone, the girl said in surprise. It's still a new Xiaomi phone. There is also a greeting card here, it was given to us as a personal reward by Mr. Li. Mr. Li is so generous. The other girls were also extremely surprised. They were very satisfied with the previous gifts, and the mobile phone was an unexpected surprise. Oops, a girl suddenly yelled in annoyance. If I had known this, I would have been in no rush to buy a Xiaomi phone before. A Xiaomi mobile phone costs 1,989 yuan, which is only half a month's salary compared to their income, so it is not considered a luxury. But some of them want to send money home and are relatively frugal. They are really reluctant to buy too expensive mobile phones and still use feature phones. Yao Xiaoyan took the phone out of the box and couldn't put it down in her hands. Watching other girls using smartphones to surf the internet, watch movies, and watch videos, she has always been envious. However, most of her monthly salary has to be sent home, and she has no extra money to buy a better new mobile phone. Now she finally has a smartphone too. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 603. Ninggai, Zhejiang Province. Small bridges, flowing water, blue bricks, and gray tiles, and boating on the river form streets along the water, and the river forms a town. The whole town is quiet and simple, like a Jiangnan ink painting with a strong ancient charm. A beautiful and majestic red Audi A6 stopped in front of an old courtyard in the alley, attracting the attention of passers-by. Zhang Wenjun, who was fashionably dressed and beautiful, got out of the car together with the female bodyguard. She raised her head and looked at the place where she grew up, and an inexplicable emotion came to her heart. At this time, the courtyard door was pushed open from inside, and a middle-aged woman about 50 years old came out. She was stunned for a moment when she saw Zhang Wenjun, and said in surprise, "Xiajun, why did you come back suddenly? Didn't you say you were busy with work this year and would come back later?" "Mom," Zhang Wenjun stepped forward and hugged her. "The boss gave me a holiday in advance, so I came back early." Mother Zhang's eyes fell on the red Audi A6 and the female bodyguard standing next to the car. "Xiajun, is this your car? And who is this?" "Well, this is my new car." Zhang Wenjun nodded. Then she glanced at the female bodyguard and said, "This is my assistant." "Hello, welcome to my home, come in quickly." Mother Zhang greeted her warmly, but there was a murmur in her heart. Didn't my daughter say she was working as an assistant for someone else? Why did she also have an assistant? And where did she get the money to buy such an expensive car? Zhang Wenjun was afraid of misunderstanding at home, so he didn't dare to say that he was working as Li Zhe's personal secretary. He only said that he was working as an administrative assistant. The title of personal secretary is easy to confuse, while administrative assistant seems more formal. "Mom, wait a minute, I'll get the things down." Zhang Wenjun turned around and walked to the back of the car, opened the trunk, and together with the female bodyguard, took out the New Year's goods purchased one by one. Looking at a pile of cigarettes, alcoholic drinks, supplements, and boxes of high-end fruits, Zhang's mother couldn't help but say, "Why did you buy so many things? What a waste of money." Zhang Wenjun smiled and said, "The company's performance was good and I received a large year-end bonus, so I bought more things." Mother Zhang wanted to teach her a few more words, when an auntie poked her head out from across the door. "Ziajun, are you back?" As she spoke, her eyes couldn't help but fall on the Audi A6 and the pile of New Year's goods on the ground. "Ah, I bought so many things." "Ziajun, your parents are enjoying your blessing. She makes some money and spends it randomly," Zhang's mother complained, but there was a smile on her face. After exchanging pleasantries with their neighbors, the three of them walked into the yard carrying their things. The small courtyard is not big, with 3 main rooms and 2 wing rooms. The house looks a bit old, and the decoration is still in the 1990s. The floor is made of blue bricks and is cleaned very clean. There are many flowers and bonsai placed in the courtyard. Hearing the movement in the yard, a middle-aged man with a medium build, slightly fat body, wearing a pair of glasses and a bookish air walked out of the house. "Dad, I'm back," Zhang Wenjun said to the man with a smile. In the afternoon, after a sumptuous lunch, Mother Zhang sent the guest, female bodyguard, to the east wing to settle down. When she came back, she looked at Zhang's father and sat down next to Zhang Wenjun. The two of them assumed the posture of a 3-chamber trial. "Dad, Mom, why are you two so serious?" Zhang Wenjun felt a little uncomfortable when they looked at him. Father Zhang asked in a deep voice, "What's going on with that car outside? Where did you get the money to buy such an expensive car?" Zhang's mother didn't know much about cars and could only recognize the Audi logo. However, Zhang's father knew a little about cars. When he went out and took a look, he immediately recognized the valuable Audi A6. Zhang Wenjun said nonchalantly, "Dad, I can earn more than 200,000 yuan a year now, and a car is nothing." Zhang's father and Zhang's mother were both surprised when they heard this. "More than 200,000? Aren't you just an assistant? How can you get so much money?" In this era, an annual income of more than 200,000 yuan is definitely considered a golden collar class. You can buy a house in a small county in 1 year. Even in a first-tier city like Shanghai, you can buy a house, down payment, after working for 2 or 3 years. 10 years later, it is no longer realistic to buy a house in Shanghai by working part-time. Zhang Wenjun smiled and said, "Mom, I am the assistant to the president, not an ordinary employee. Our company is a major internet company with tens of thousands of employees. The wages in the internet industry are high, and my income in the company is at the lower middle level. Even programmers with better skills can get more than me." Mother Zhang immediately felt relieved after hearing this. "No wonder you insisted on staying in the big city. It seems that the big city is still developing." Then, she turned to look at Father Zhang. "You also said that if Ziajun comes back and becomes a teacher in this small town like you, what future can he have?" Zhang's father seemed not to hear her words. He thought for a moment and said to Zhang Wenjun, "Your boss is a man, right? How old is he? Is he married?" "Our boss is very young, only a year or two older than me." "Only 1 or 2 years older than you?" Mother Zhang exclaimed in surprise. "Didn't you say that your company is very large, with tens of thousands of people?" He started his business in his freshman year, and it took only 3 or 4 years to develop a small company into a first-class internet company in China. Zhang Wenjun's tone was full of pride, and he looked proud. He is now the youngest billionaire in the country. After hearing this, Mrs. Zhang felt a little unbelievable. Then your boss is really amazing. Father Zhang has been observing Zhang Wenjun's expression, and he feels increasingly uneasy. It is not a good thing for a girl to worship a man too much. Seemingly noticing his gaze, Zhang Wenjun said quickly, "Mom, Dad, don't think too much. Our boss has a girlfriend, and they have a good relationship. They got married last year. Besides, even if I like them, they still don't like me." Mother Zhang smiled and said, "Our little June is so outstanding, what man can't be worthy of it? Excellent. There are many girls in the world who are better than me." Father Zhang looked at his daughter and said, "So you guys just have a simple superior-subordinate relationship?" "That's right, so don't think about it anymore." Zhang Wenjun said this, but his eyes were a little dodgy. "That's right," Mother Zhang remembered something. "The old Xia family in the next street, the Xiaodong who studied in the United States is back. I met him. This kid is more handsome than when he was a child, and he is still studying like that." Columbia University, Father Zhang reminded from the side. "Yes, Columbia University is also very good. How about you two meet?" Zhang Wenjun was stunned for a moment and said, "Mom, I'm only 22 this year. Why are you so anxious to ask me to go on a blind date?" Zhang's mother said disapprovingly, 22? You will be 23 during the Chinese New Year. If you delay it any longer, it will be delayed. Besides, it's just a one-time meeting. Even if it doesn't work, you young people can still make friends. But no buts, that's it. During the past few days at home during the Chinese New Year, Zhang Wenjun was extremely annoyed. She is beautiful, well-educated, and has a good job. She works in a large company in a first-tier city and drives a luxury car at a young age. When they heard that she was back, the ladies in the town came to her door one after another and enthusiastically introduced her to someone. One said her nephew was excellent, the other said her nephew was also pretty good. Zhang Wenjun has decided that she will never come back next year and will take her parents to Shanghai to spend the new year. However, how should she explain to them then, where did she get the money to buy such an expensive house? Thinking of this, she had a headache again. Northern Jiangsu, a small village. Yuan Kun was also forced by his parents to go on a blind date. A little girl from the next village who also works in a big city went home to celebrate the new year. According to the matchmaker, the girl is in very good condition, is pretty, and earns a lot from working in a big city. Yuan Kun rode his father's second-hand motorcycle to the next village, only to find a BMW 1 Series parked in front of the woman's house, as well as 2 motorcycles, and 5 or 6 people, including old people and young people, surrounding the door. He parked his motorcycle aside and walked over. Before Yuan Kun could ask, a boy took the initiative and said to him, "You are also here for a blind date, right?" "You too?" Yuan Kun asked. The boy nodded. "You came too late." The little girl had 4 dates in the morning, and she was already tired. After a pause, he motioned to the BMW and whispered, "I guess the one driving the BMW is the most interesting." When it was Yuan Kun's turn, the little girl was really impatient. The two briefly chatted for a few words. After learning that Yuan Kun had no house or car in the city, and his salary was only 2,000 to 3,000, the little girl even ignored her. Yuan Kun was also very sensible and immediately said goodbye. The blind date failed, but he didn't feel any loss at all. This girl grew up pretty well, but a girl who didn't even have a transfer degree was able to gain a foothold in a big city and earn a lot of money. This way of making money is very questionable. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 604. The day before New Year's Eve, Zhou took a private plane back to Shanghai from Hong Kong Island. Seeing Zhou walking into the villa surrounded by bodyguards, assistants, and healthcare workers, Xiao felt very unhappy as she walked down the stairs. Zhang Yang is domineering, and the ostentation of a mistress is bigger than that of her main palace. Li Jie is really used to being a fox this week. This guy who is obsessed with sex. However, Xiao immediately calmed down after taking a look at the huge wedding photo of her and Li Jie hanging in the living room. So what if Joe Fox is favored again? She is just a concubine who serves people with sex, and her status as the main palace is unshakable. Xiao is currently watching Queen In Hyun's Man, which is the Korean version of Love for 1,000 Years. It was filmed by a branch in South Korea, starring Yoon Na and Kim Soo Hyun. This is a time travel drama, with the ancient background being the historical Sejong period of Korea. Queen Min was once deposed and expelled from the palace because she was framed by Sejong's favorite concubine Jang Abin, but she was restored to power 5 years later. Xiao looked at the arrogant and domineering Jang Zibin, and naturally thought of Zhou Ziyu. Seeing Jang Zibin crying bitterly when she was sentenced to death, she felt very happy. There was a faint smile on Zhou Ziyu's bright and pretty face. She looked at Xiao, and her eyes focused on Bai Wei behind her. She felt that Xiao was really a little silly and cute. How could she really believe that her best friend was Yi Xin? Even men are willing to share it with their girlfriends. How many so-called best friends have turned against each other because of men? What's more, this Bai Wei is not a simple thing. Xiao will regret it sooner or later. Xiao, are you ready to go out? Humph, it has nothing to do with you, Xiao snorted coldly. What she hated the most was the fox's smile. However, when Xiao and Bai Wei left the villa, she suddenly thought of something and stopped again. That's not right. She left as soon as Zhou came back. Doesn't it seem like she was afraid of him? She can't leave. Seeing Xiao go and come back, Zhou couldn't help but be a little surprised. Why are you back again? I want you to take care of it, this is my home, Xiao said with a cold face. Seeing her like this, Zhou couldn't help but feel funny. Don't worry, I'm just coming back to get some things and leave as soon as I'm done. Xiao was a little surprised when he heard this. You don't live here. Zhou smiled, didn't you say that this is your home? The next day, on New Year's Eve, Xiao woke up early in the morning. She lay on the bed and relaxed for a while, then turned to look at Bai Wei, who was still sleeping soundly beside her. She couldn't help but be a little envious of the exquisite curves under her nightgown. They slept together last night. As for Li Jie, this guy didn't come back, so he probably went with Zhou. No wonder that Joe Fox doesn't live here anymore. It turns out he made up his mind to seduce the person away. How cunning. However, this villa is getting more and more deserted. Zhou moved away. Lu Changji bought another house near the company and lived there most of the time. Wang Vixen, Wang's Heining, takes Xiao Junting to live in Beijianwan Mansion. Only Shen, a foodie, often goes back to the villa to stay. In the past, when Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, and Wang's Heining all lived in the villa, Xiao couldn't stand them and wished they could all move away. But when they all moved away, she felt a little lost. And Li Jie often stays up at night. Fortunately, Sister Wei was always with her. Thinking of this, Xiao came to Bai Wei, hugged her and started to move her hands up and down. Bai Wei was woken up by her. Xiao, what are you doing? I just touch my pussy and don't do anything else. Sister Wei, your touch feels so good. Stop making trouble and let me go. The two played around for a while before getting up and washing up. Xiao took out 2 sets from the cloakroom and gave one to Bai Wei, and then they helped each other get dressed. Wearing hanfu is cumbersome and inconvenient for one person. Bai Wei helped Xiao Jiao tie the strings of her skirt and said, "Next time you do this, I won't sleep with you." Xiao Jiao said with a smile, "We are all girls, what are you afraid of?" She said and hugged the other person again. "That's not okay." Bai Wei broke away from her restraints, "You're still making trouble." Xiao Jiao smiled and said, "Sister Wei, if I were a man, I would definitely marry you, and I would save money on that guy Li Jie. By the way, Sister Wei, are you with him?" "Which one?" Bai Wei pretended not to understand. "Don't act stupid, that's it." "No. Sister Wei, you can't do this. There has been no progress for so long. You have to take the initiative." Xiao Jiao looked like he hated iron. Bai Wei was silent for a few seconds and said, "I'm still a little resistant to that matter. The last time she kicked Li Jie off her body, it really wasn't intentional, it was just an instinctive reaction. You have to let go of your guard and take the initiative to try. Didn't I tell you that kind of thing?" President Ji Jiao is really strict. How could he be so desperate to persuade his best friend to have an intimate relationship with his man? Besides, it's a waste of resources for you to remain single despite your good conditions. When Xiao Jiao said this, she was suddenly stunned. Why did the way she spoke look so like Li Jie? She must have been influenced by that crooked guy Li Jie. Well, absolutely. By 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, Lu Kaiyu and Wang Zhaining came back one after another. Lu Kaiyu is still wearing an improved version of hanfu, a red woolen coat-style round-neck double-breasted long coat and a plaid cross-dress made of woolen fabric. Only the color and style are slightly different from last year's set. Wang Zhaining is dressed in white hanfu and a red cloak with a fur collar. She holds little junting carved in pink and jade in her arms. Her face was pure and charming, and her slender waist was slender. It was impossible to tell that she was the mother of a child. As for Xiao Jiao and Bai Wei, one is pure and charming in a white and light pink chest-length undershirt, and the other is bright and elegant in a light blue undershirt with a curved undershirt. Xiao Jiao, Kaiyu, Zhaining, Shen Xian walked downstairs wearing a very cute coat skirt and said hello to Xiao Jiao and the others. Last night she broadcast live until 1 or 2 in the morning, so she got up relatively late. Xiao Jiao looked at the time and couldn't help but said, "Why haven't Li Jie and Joe Fox come over yet?" As soon as she finished speaking, the sound of a car came from outside the villa. "It should be Brother Jie and the others who are here." Shen Xian stood up first and went out to greet them. Xiao Jiao, Lu Kaiyu, Wang Zhaining and others also followed to greet them. A lava orange Porsche Cayenne stopped in front of the villa. Li Jie opened the back seat door and got out first, then walked around to the other side of the car, opened the door and helped Zhou get out of the car. Zhou wore a loose chest-length skirt and a white fox cape. She was graceful and noble. However, although the clothes are loose in silhouette, they still cannot cover the changes in body shape. She is almost 9 months pregnant and is not far from her due date. In fact, Li Jie originally didn't want Zhou to come back. He planned to fly to Hong Kong Island to be with her after the Chinese New Year. After all, she is no longer fit to fly. But Zhou insisted on coming back to celebrate the New Year with him. Xiao Jiao's eyes glanced past Zhou and rested on Zhao Minjiao, who followed her out of the car. She also wore a chest-length underskirt, and her cuteness was mixed with a pitiful feeling. However, under Xiao Jiao's gaze, her expression was obviously a little flustered. "You three lived together last night," Xiao Jiao said, turning to look at Li Jie. "I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 605. Facing Xiao Jiao's scrutinizing gaze, Li Jie smiled calmly. "Minjiao hasn't always lived with Ziyu." In order to avoid the harassment of her cruel father, Zhao Minjiao had been living with Zhou on the Bund. Even after Zhou went to Hong Kong Island, she did not move away. Zhou's house on the Bund is a high-end residential area with very strict management. Non-owners of the community are not allowed to enter and must be led by the owner before they can enter. Zhao Minjiao usually stayed in the community, reclusive, and protected by bodyguards, so she was not harassed by her vicious father. In fact, what she didn't know was that Li Jie had already arranged for someone to clean up Zhao's father, and now even if he had the courage, he would not dare to trouble her anymore. Zhou Ziyu glanced at Zhao Minjiao and said with a smile, "Minjiao slept with me last night." It's true that Zhao Minjiao slept with her, but... Xiao Qiao's eyes wandered around Li Jie, Zhou Ziyu, and Zhao Minjiao. He said nothing, but he snorted coldly in his heart. Pretend, you can really pretend. Li Jie and Zhou Fox are both better at pretending than the other. Li Jie looked calm and didn't look like he was telling lies. With Zhou Ziyu standing by to testify, it seemed like there was nothing wrong with him. But Xiao Qiao knows Li Jie so well that no matter how much he pretends to look like him, she can see through it at a glance. Looking at that proud look, it was obvious that he was not idle last night. This guy is really greedy. He has provoked so many girls, and he is not afraid of dying from exhaustion. There is also the scourge Zhou Fox, who will do whatever it takes to win favor, even betraying his best friend. When Xiao Qiao thought this way, she completely forgot that she tried her best to persuade Bai Wei to accept Li Jie last night. Li Jie walked up to Wang Haining and reached out to take Xiao Junting from her arms. "Junting, come here, give me a hug from daddy." Little Junting is 8 months old, with fair and tender skin and a pair of big, watery eyes under long eyelashes, which is very cute. But this little guy didn't give Li Jie any face. As soon as he lowered his head and kissed her tender face, she grinned and was about to cry. If Junting doesn't cry, what's wrong with dad kissing her? Wang Haining said funnily, "Give it to me, she's not familiar with you." Okay, Li Jie returned the child to her. He is a bit incompetent as a father. He doesn't spend much time with his daughter, so that both her and him are a little shy. Xiao Qiao, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, and others couldn't help but express a bit of envy when they watched the scene of father and daughter interacting. With a faint smile on her face, Zhou Ziyu subconsciously touched her abdomen. Li Jie's eyes passed over Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, Wang Haining, Bai Wei, and Zhao Minjiao one by one. They were dressed in Chinese attire and fluttering skirts. They were either pure, delicate, or charming. There is a feeling of being among flowers. Okay, let's go in. After everyone returned to the villa, Li Jie took out red paper, inkstones, brushes, and other items to prepare to write couplets. This year he didn't ask anyone to buy the couplets and planned to write them himself. "Qiao Bao, you are responsible for grinding the ink." "Why me?" Xiao Qiao asked subconsciously. Li Jie glanced at her with a smile, "Why do you think it is you?" Xiao Qiao thought for a while, vaguely understood something, poured some water into the inkstone, then rolled up his sleeves and started grinding the ink. When the ink was almost done, Li Jie thought for a moment, picked up the ink-stained brush, and started writing on the red paper. All the lakes and seas are in spring, and all the rivers and mountains are in full glory. Horizontal batch, everything is updated. Li Jie put the brush on the pen holder, turned to look at Xiao Qiao and the others and asked, "What do you think?" Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziyu, and Lu Kaiyu admired it for a moment, and then looked at each other. "It looks pretty good," Xiao Qiao said. General Lu Kaiyu said. "I think it's pretty good," Shen Xinyi said. Li Jie only practiced calligraphy intermittently when he was a child. Although he picked it up again in the past 2 years and would practice calligraphy in the office when he had nothing to do, his level was still at the beginner level. "Which one of you will write one?" Seeing Li Jie's eyes falling on her, Xiao Qiao quickly said, "Don't look at me, I can't write calligraphy." You can't do anything," Li Jie shook his head. Xiao Qiao glanced at him angrily. "Let me give it a try," Lu Kaiyu said. She picked up the brush, thought for a while, and wrote a couplet on the red paper. Everything goes as planned, and all your wishes come true. Horizontal batch, 5 blessings come to your door. Not bad, Li Jie admired it and commented. Lu Kaiu smiled and said, I practiced calligraphy for a while when I was in elementary school or junior high school. After so many years, I still can't write well. Ever since she was a child, she has been relatively outstanding among her peers. She has learned calligraphy, painting, musical instruments, dance, and Go, and her dancing level is no worse than a professional level. Who will try again? Li Jie asked. Wang Zhaining and Zhao Minjiao both shook their heads and said no. Shen Xinyi said, I took several writing classes in elementary school. After so many years, I have almost forgotten them. Li Jie looked at Bai Wei and said, Bai Wei, how about you write one? He remembered that Bai Wei's grandfather was a university professor with profound attainments in Chinese studies. She learned the method of identifying jade from her grandfather. Unfortunately, the old man died relatively early. Bai Wei hesitated for a moment and nodded, okay. She took the brush and started writing without thinking. Welcome the new year with beautiful scenery, bid farewell to the old year with great prosperity. Hengpi, bid farewell to the old and welcome the new. The font is round and full, dignified and elegant, and the writing is smooth and smooth. Sister Wei, what you wrote is so good, much better than what Li Jie wrote, Xiao Qiao couldn't help but exclaimed. She doesn't know calligraphy, but good calligraphy can be seen at a glance. Bai Wei smiled and said, I haven't written for a long time, so I'm very rusty. Li Jie looked her up and down and sighed in his heart. Bai Wei is considered a genius, with top-notch IQ, EQ, and ability. Unfortunately, her studies were delayed due to family changes. Otherwise, with her IQ, she would definitely have been admitted to 211. In fact, there are many talented people in this world, but the vast majority of them are buried and unable to display their talent due to various reasons. Then use this one. After Li Jie finished speaking, he smiled and said to Bai Wei, from now on, the task of writing couplets every year will be left to you. After hearing his words, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiu, Wang Zhaining, and others all turned their attention to Bai Wei. The implications of these words are too obvious. Next, Li Jie wrote a few more Chinese characters for blessing, and then took Xiao Qiao and the others to paste couplets and characters for blessing. Posting couplets, hanging lanterns, and arranging various New Year decorations, it was noon after all the busy work. Li Jie, Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziyu, and Lu Kaiu were busy making the reunion dinner again. As usual, each of the 7 of them, Xiao Qiao, cooks 1 or 2 specialty dishes, and Li Jie is responsible for the rest. By the time the reunion dinner was ready, it was already 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Li Jie, Xiao Qiao, and the others sat around a dining table together. Xiao Qiao's eyes swept over the 6 of them, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiu, and Shen Xinyi, then he raised his cup and said with a smile, let's have a drink together first. She is becoming more and more dignified. Li Jie smiled at her and raised his glass. Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiu, Shen Xinyi, Wang Zhaining, Bai Wei, Zhao Minjiao, and others also raised their glasses. Bang, all the wine glasses touched together. After putting down the wine glass, Xiao Qiao suddenly said, we can't add more people, otherwise the table won't be able to sit. Isn't this a table for 10 people? Why can't we sit down? Li Jie was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile, don't worry, there won't be anyone else, I promise. You promise, Xiao Qiao snorted, with an expression that said I believe you. Not only her, but Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiu, Shen Xinyi, and others were also snickering, obviously not believing what Li Jie said. Seeing them like this, Li Jie shook his head helplessly and sighed softly. Alas, my husband is weak. At around 6 p.m., Guo Jian drove a white BMW X4 to the HP area and stopped under an apartment building. After getting out of the car, he took out his mobile phone and made a call. Soon, Lu Xianxian, Little Sponge, and Xiao Xiao walked out of the apartment together. After investing some money, they moved from their studio in Jiading to this serviced apartment last month. Although living in the studio is free of rent, Jiading is too remote. Huangpu is home to the three major business circles of Rongguang, Xintiandi, and Huihei Road, making it more convenient to shoot videos and visit stores. Now Kudong Video has launched store exploration and product evaluation services, using the popularity and traffic of internet celebrities to help catering and e-commerce merchants attract traffic. As for selling goods through e-commerce live streaming, the time is not yet ripe. Brother Jian, I'm sorry to bother you, Lu Xianxian said to Guo Jian with a smile. She wore a very sexy evening dress and a white one-piece down jacket to keep warm. Hey, why are you so polite to me? Guo Jian diligently helped her open the passenger door. Get in the car quickly. They were going to attend the Kudong Group Spring Festival Gala. This year, Kudong Group will no longer hold an annual meeting. Instead, it will hold a Spring Festival Gala on the night of New Year's Eve, which will be broadcast live on Kudong Video and Station B at the same time. There is no one else who holds a New Year's Eve party and a Spring Festival Gala on the night of New Year's Eve to grab ratings. The Spring Festival Gala is the same as the Five Blessings collection. Li Jie plans to hold it for a long time. If he wants to unite the sense of identity of the Chinese in Southeast Asia, he must have a unified event. What Li Jie planned was to gather the Five Blessings and watch the Spring Festival Gala. After acquiring ATV, he will let ATV take over. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 606. After getting in the car, Xiao Xiao glanced at Guo Jian, who was joking with Lu Xianxian while driving, and took out his mobile phone to send Lu Xianxian a message. Xianxian, I think Guo Jian is quite sincere. How about you reluctantly agree to him? Lu Xianxian, who was in the front row, felt her phone vibrate in her pocket, took it out and took a look at it, then smiled and replied. If you think he's good, I can let him go to you. As for Guo Jian's appearance, she didn't consider it at all. Although Lu Xianxian always said during her live broadcast that she didn't care about a man's appearance, and that what matters more is his character and sincerity, this was just a way for her to fool her fans and brother. Which young girl doesn't have an appearance association? Besides, Guo Jian is just Li Jie's classmate, and this relationship is not reliable at all. If he were Li Jie's brother-in-law, she might consider it. But they are not interested in me, they are interested in you. It's okay, I can help you connect. Seeing Lu Xianxian playing with her phone all the time and laughing from time to time, Guo Jian couldn't help but curiously asked, Xianxian, who are you chatting with? Yes, Lu Xianxian came back to her senses and glanced at him. A friend asked me for advice, saying that she had a crush on a boy but didn't know how to express it. She said, looking back and smiling playfully. Soon, the car came to Zhongning Road and stopped in an open-air parking lot. Guo Jian, Lu Xianxian, and Xiao Xiao got out of the car. The theater is not far ahead, let's walk over. The Kudong Group Spring Festival Gala will be held at the Majestic Theater at number 66 Zhongning Road. The Majestic Theater was built in 1941. It was the only first-run screening theater for Western films in Shanghai at that time. It was once dubbed Asia's #1 and Far East's #1 cinema. However, Majestic Theater does not have its own parking lot. People who drive there can only find parking spaces in the surrounding areas and then walk there. The architectural style of Majestic Theater combines the essence of modern and classical architecture. The round tower at the entrance is majestic. The entrance to the theater was particularly lively tonight, with beautifully dressed men and women constantly getting out of the cars. These people were all guests attending the party. As soon as Guo Jian, Lu Xianxian, and Xiao Xiao arrived in front of the theater, they met an acquaintance. Guo Jian. When Guo Jian heard the shouting, he turned around and saw that it was his Higang walking over with a tall and pretty girl. What a coincidence, is this your girlfriend? His Higang glanced at Ruan Jiai beside him, and then smiled at Guojian, without admitting or denying. It was a rare occasion when his emotional intelligence was online. Let's go in together. At this time, a RV drove over and stopped at the entrance of the theater. Yang Hao, Deng Chao, Chen Shixi, and others got out of the car. It's a running men's team, Xiao Xiao whispered. Yang Hao seemed to notice his Higang and others not far away, turned around and glanced at him, and then walked into the theater laughing with Deng Chao and Chen Shixi. Watching Yang Hao's figure gradually disappear, his Higang was a little dazed, and for the first time he deeply realized the identity gap between the two parties. Let's go in too, Guojian retracted his gaze and said. He couldn't stand the way Yang Hao acted like a villain. After Guojian, his Higang and others entered the theater, they found that the interior was huge, with upper and lower floors, enough to accommodate 1,000 or 2,000 people, and the stage was also huge. In fact, the majestic theater has 823 seats on the first floor and 505 seats on the second floor, which can seat a total of 1,328 people. The stage opening is 12.10 meters wide and 13.45 meters deep. After showing the invitation letter, the staff arranged Guojian, Lu Xianxian, Xiao Xiao and others to a seat slightly behind on the first floor. His Higang and Ruan Jiai were placed in the back row. Sitting in front of Guojian and the others is a group of Yingying Yanyan. They are all popular anchors of Kudong Studio, including Sun Wanning, Zhao Minjiao, Su Yani, Chen Xian, Lu Mingyang, Zhao Jinjia, Cao Qian, and so on. Each one has its own merits, some are sweet and cute, some are delicate and charming, some are domineering and powerful, or some are pure and bright, which makes people dizzying. Guojian couldn't help but look at them, but he was worried about Lu Xianxian next to him, and he didn't dare to look at her openly, which made her look a little wretched. Lu Xianxian and Xiao Xiao took the initiative to strike up a conversation with Chen Xian and Lu Mingyang. It is very important for anchors to expand their network. A single connection with a big anchor can bring a lot of traffic. Among the major anchors, Chen Xian is the most talkative. In the back row, his Higang chatted quietly with Ruan Jiai, trying his best to find topics. This time he finally got the other party to ask out, and he didn't want to miss the opportunity again. Time passed little by little, and at around 7 o'clock, there was a sudden commotion among the people sitting in the front row. Li Jie, accompanied by Xiao Qiao and Lu Kaiyu, led a group of senior executives from Kudong Group in from the outside. Northern Jiangsu. Yuan Kun was having New Year's Eve dinner with Yuan's father and Yuan's mother. Customs and habits vary across the country. Some places have New Year's Eve dinner at noon, some places have it in the afternoon, and some places have it in the evening. Yuan Kun and the others are having New Year's Eve dinner together in the evening. Father Yuan drank a lot of wine and his face turned red. He glanced at Yuan Kun and said, "If it doesn't work, you can come back and raise some river eels and hairy crabs in Bayotu Pond. It's hard work, but at least you can do it, save up the money." Mother Yuan also said, "Yes, it's easier to find a partner here at home. Just build a new house and collect some betrothal gifts. It's not like girls in big cities who have high standards." Yuan Kun was silent and didn't speak. He didn't want to stay in the countryside for the rest of his life. Besides, none of the girls with better conditions were willing to stay in the countryside. Father Yuan shook his head when he saw it, then he looked at the time and said, "Where's the remote control? It's already 8 o'clock, the Spring Festival Gala should have started." Yuan Kun seemed to have remembered something, stood up and said, "I won't eat. I'm going back to my room first." "You don't want to watch the Spring Festival Gala anymore," Mother Yuan said quickly. "Don't watch it, there's nothing interesting to see." Father Yuan looked at his son's back and said with some dissatisfaction, "This boy is not very capable, but he has a bad temper. I don't want to listen to even a few words of advice to him. After returning to the room, Yuan Kun immediately opened his second-hand notebook. He clicked on the fun video and found that the Spring Festival Gala had already begun. The two hosts, a man and a woman, were reading the opening remarks in a cadence, while various barrages kept passing by on the screen. It finally begins. Waiting for the red envelope opening at 10 o'clock. Just wait for the red envelope to open XN. The Spring Festival Gala is getting more and more boring. Wait for Sissy to appear. Is there a girl's generation? Yuan Kun took out his mobile phone and clicked on the 5 blessings page to look at it. Like many people who collected the 5 blessings, he was also looking forward to opening red envelopes. There is a 1 in 10,000 chance of winning $1 million red envelope, and a 1 in -3,000 chance of winning $1 million red envelope, which makes people full of expectations. At this time, I heard the beautiful female host say, "Now we invite Girls' Generation to appear." Girls' Generation? Yuan Kun immediately became energetic when he heard this. As the exciting music played, the 9 of them walked out from the back, and the barrage exploded, filling the screen like crazy. Soft. Yoana. Sika. The wait was not in vain, the 9 little ones are really here. This year, Girls' Generation has become more and more popular in China. It can be said that it is the #1 girl group in South Korea with countless fans. Even Yuan Kun likes Lin Yoana very much. Because they were invited to the Kudong Group annual meeting last year. So fans have been discussing on Taibo before whether Kudong Group will invite them to the Spring Festival Gala this year. Many fans have great expectations. Unexpectedly, not only did they come, but they also appeared on the first show, which surprised fans. Seeing that there were too many barrage and too dense, which affected the viewing experience, Yuan Kun turned off the barrage. But without the barrage, he felt stupid again, so he turned on the barrage again and adjusted it to the upper and lower sides of the screen. Barrage is an interactive behavior that gives people a sense of companionship. Many people open memberships to watch the original version just to watch the barrage and screen. Girls' Generation left the stage after performing one song, and the performances continued one after another. Cross Stalk from Daeun Club. A Happy Twist sketch. Yang Hao, Deng Chao, Chen Shishi and other members of the men's running team came to the stage to interact. Ancient style dances performed by 7 or 8 first-line internet celebrities including Sun Wanning, Zhao Minjiao, and Chen Xian. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 607. In order to get this first Spring Festival Gala off to a good start, Kudong Group spent 50 million and invited a large number of well-known artists. It can be said that whoever is popular will be invited. The huge popularity brought by popular celebrities and internet celebrities, coupled with the rich and colorful program content, made the party more and more popular, so much so that the video became laggy. It was restored after technicians urgently expanded the server capacity. It can only be said that compared to the increasingly formulaic Spring Festival Gala, countless young people were pleasantly surprised by such an interesting and pleasing Spring Festival Gala. Many people are busy throughout the year, so they can completely relax during the new year. As a result, you have to watch a party on New Year's Eve and still have to be educated and lectured. What young person can stand this? According to subsequent statistics, the live broadcast of the Spring Festival Gala had a total of 167 million viewers, with a maximum number of 35.86 million people online at the same time, and 329 million likes. This ratings is still far from comparable to that of the Spring Festival Gala, but its influence is huge. The vast majority of the audience are young people under the age of 40, who have the greatest consumption potential. Advertising revenue alone is 126 million. In other words, not only did this party cost no money, but it actually made a lot of money. Kudong Group has signed a ratings betting agreement with advertisers. The higher the ratings, the higher the advertising fees. The artists and internet celebrities under the group also benefited from it. Their coming to perform this time is not voluntary labor. They are all paid, and they are still at the highest market price. If you pay high prices to invite external artists, but require voluntary labor for your own artists, you will be flattering on the outside and disabled on the inside. This will only alienate your artists. Therefore, they have to pay higher prices to their own artists. After Shentang, Molly, and others performed another skit, the 9 girls from Girls' Generation appeared again. This Spring Festival Gala is a bit like the first Spring Festival Gala in 1983. It is completely based on the audience's thoughts. Whoever has the highest voice on the barrage will perform on stage multiple times. Not just Girls' Generation, Liu Yufei, Sun Wanning, Zhao Minjiao, Chen Xian, Shentang, and Molly have all appeared on stage more than once. Especially Liu Yufei, she has been on stage 3 times with the highest voice. Precisely because of the randomness of this kind of performance, the audience has no choice but to keep watching in order not to miss their favorite artists, which also results in a super high online rate. When Girls' Generation finished their performance again and left the stage, the camera panned over the guest seats. Li Jie, Xiao Qiao, Lu Kaiyu, Zhao Jia, Yu Zhongfeng and other senior executives of Kudong Group, who were sitting in the front row, came in one after another. Finally, the camera fell on Zhou Ziyu sitting in the back row of Li Jie. She wore a white fox fur coat to cover her pregnant belly, with a faint smile on her charming face. The barrage immediately exploded with compliments. So beautiful. So beautiful. Who is this beauty? Soon, fans recognized her. This is Chen Yu, the beautiful writer Chen Yu. Chenyu, Chenyu. Shen Yu Luo Yan. Shen Yu Luo Yan. The 4 words Shen Yu Luo Yan have flooded the screen. The cameraman is very good at grasping the audience's mind. When the camera pans to the guest seats, he always focuses on the beautiful women. Liu Yufei, Sun Wanning, Zhao Minjiao, Chen Xian, Lu Mingyang, and Lu Xianxian have all been photographed by the camera. There is also a very beautiful mixed-race girl in the front row on the 2nd floor, who has been photographed many times. In addition to the employees and artists of Kudong Group, the invited audiences this time also include some external tickets. These tickets are mainly given to college students and international students studying in major universities in Shanghai. When Jin Xing interviewed Pan Pan Shii, he once asked a question that left him speechless. Why only donate money to Harvard? There are no poor students who can go to Harvard to study. Is it because the rich only help the rich? In fact, this is the case. The rich will only help the rich and will not care about the life and death of the poor. To be precise, everyone only cares about things that are good for themselves. The people who call you the most are often not your parents, but scammers, intermediaries, and small loan companies. In the past 2 years, Li Jie has been systematically subsidizing some poor students in colleges and universities, focusing on 985 and 211 colleges and universities. On the one hand, it is charity, and on the other hand, it is also about cultivating talents for the group. When the time reached around 9 o'clock, a barrage suddenly popped up. Damn, I got the blessing of dedication. This barrage was like a signal, and soon dense barrage came in droves. What a hit! I got it too. The chance of being blessed by dedication seems to be higher. Ha ha ha, here I come with a huge red envelope of tens of millions. Among such exciting barrages, there are also some dissatisfaction and complaints. These are all people who have collected the 5 blessings before, and are the victims of the excessive blessings of professionalism. The cake is so big, and if there are more people sharing it, everyone will naturally get less. Yuan Kun couldn't help but feel nervous when he saw the barrage on the screen. If there were more people gathering all the 5 blessings, his chances of winning the big prize would undoubtedly be reduced. Amid the commotion, the time approached 10 o'clock. 2 hosts, a man and a woman, took the stage again. Male host, it's almost 10 o'clock, and the 5 blessings are about to begin. Female host, so how many people have collected all the 5 blessings so far? Host, please look at the big screen. 956,528 people. After seeing the numbers on the big screen clearly, Yuan Kun's heart suddenly went cold. In less than an hour, the number of people who gathered the 5 blessings increased from less than 10,000 to more than 950,000. In other words, his probability of winning $1 million red envelope dropped from 1 in 3,000 to 1 in 3 million. The probability is so low that it is no different from a lottery ticket. From being full of hope to being dashed, the gap was so great that Yuan Kun felt discouraged for a while. At this time, the 2 hosts began to read the countdown: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 3, 2, 1. Open the 5 blessings. As this sound fell, the barrage suddenly became dense again. I drew 88. 168. Why do I only have 6.6? Good luck, 1068. Seeing others starting to draw prizes, Yuan Kun hurriedly picked up his phone and clicked on the Jiweafa page. If it's too late and the grand prize is taken away, then there will really be no hope at all. He lightly clicked on the blessing card, and the next moment the card was turned over, and a special effect of a lucky doll showing New Year greetings appeared. Congratulations on winning $1 million red envelope. Looking at his phone, Yuan Kun was stunned. There was only one thought in his mind: I won the lottery. It took him 5 or 6 seconds to react, and he stood up in excitement, causing the chair to fall over due to his excessive movement. The chair fell to the ground with a clang. Mother Yuan was alerted in the living room, opened the door and walked in. What's wrong? Mom, I won the prize, I won the prize, Yuan Kun said excitedly. Mother Yuan was stunned for a moment. Won a lottery? Did you buy a lottery ticket? How much did you win? 1 million. 1 million, Mother Yuan couldn't help but exclaimed. Really or not? Kunner, did you really win $1 million? What are you arguing about during the Chinese New Year? Father Yuan also walked in. Kunner said he won a lottery ticket, a grand prize of 1 million, Yuan's mother said to him excitedly. What, 1 million? Father Yuan was dismayed when he heard the drunkenness. Facing the gazes of Yuan's father and mother, Yuan Kun explained, Dad, Mom, I didn't win the lottery. Then he told the 2 about gathering the 5 blessings. After hearing this, Father Yuan and Mother Yuan's joy faded away, and they looked at each other with doubts in their eyes. Kunner, do you think this episode of the 5 blessings event is reliable? Isn't it a liar? Yuan's mother said doubtfully. Father Yuan also said, nowadays, there are many people who cheat money under the guise of winning a lottery, asking you to pay a deposit first. After you pay the money, the other person disappears. After hearing this, Yuan Kun said funnily, Dad, Mom, you are thinking too much. Kudong Group is a first-class internet company in China, and its boss is the youngest billionaire. How can it be a liar? Is that true? Did you really win 1 million? After hearing what he said, Yuan's mother believed it. After the new year, you should quickly get your award back. If you are asked to pay a deposit, you must not pay it, Father Yuan warned. He still doesn't quite believe it. After all, it's not like a lottery, it's endorsed by the state. I will go to receive the award tomorrow, Yuan Kun said impatiently. He couldn't feel at ease until he got the money for a day. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 608. After the 5 blessings, the number of live viewers of the party dropped instantly. Although the 9 members of Girls' Generation performed on stage again, their popularity failed to increase much. It seems that long legs are not as attractive as red envelopes. After Shentang, Molly, and others took the stage again and performed a skit as the finale, the party came to an end and the 12 o'clock bell was about to ring. 10, 9, 8, 7, during the countdown of the 2 hosts, the camera cut to the Bund. Both sides of the Huangpu River on the Bund are brightly lit and bustling with people. When the countdown reached 0 and the New Year's bell rang, fireworks burst into the sky and everyone cheered. Li Jie felt someone holding his hand and looked away from the big screen. When he turned around, he saw Xiao Qiao smiling and mouthing, "Happy New Year, hubby." He smiled at her, and just as he was about to say something, his phone suddenly vibrated continuously. "Zhou, Happy New Year, hubby." "Lu Kaiu, husband, Happy New Year." "Shenzhenyi, husband, Happy New Year." "Wang Zhaining, brother Jie, Happy New Year." Li Jie looked at the phone screen and couldn't help but smile. 2011 has passed and 2012 is here. Yuan Kun was so excited that he didn't sleep all night on New Year's Eve. Early the next morning, he got up with red eyes and embarked on the journey back to Shanghai at the urging of his father and mother. Unlike when we came back to catch up with the Spring Festival travel rush, there were very few people on the train, and it was even a little deserted. After the train arrived in Shanghai, Yuan Kun hailed a taxi and went straight to the headquarters of Kudong Group as soon as he walked out of the station. When the taxi stopped under the office building, Yuan Kun got out of the car and looked up at the office building. He suddenly felt a little uneasy and worried about gains and losses. He took a deep breath and took a step forward. At this time, another taxi stopped, and a man wearing a Sun Wukong hood got out of the car. Yuan Kun stopped and looked at the other person. "Brother, are you here to receive the award too?" "You too," the man in the hood was surprised. "How many hits did you get?" 1 million, what about you?" "Same." Yuan Kun shook his head in his heart. "It's just 1 million, is this all?" 1 million is really not a big sum of money in Shanghai. It can't even buy a nice house. Yuan Kun and the man in the hood walked into the office building together. After explaining their purpose to the front desk on the first floor, she led them to a lounge. After waiting for about 20 minutes, a beautiful girl dressed exquisitely walked in with a middle-aged man and a slightly nervous girl who looked like a student. "My surname is Yu, and I am Mr. Li's secretary. Next, I will collect your prizes," the girl introduced herself. The middle-aged man glanced at the girl next to him and said hesitantly, "Secretary Yu, can we accept the award anonymously and not make it public? Otherwise, if the news of winning the award spreads, it may cause a lot of trouble to the children." The man in the hood also said, "Yes, let's accept the award anonymously." Yuan Kun immediately understood that the father and daughter were also lottery winners, and they seemed to be winners of a multi-million-dollar prize. He couldn't help but feel envious when he looked at the girl, who had achieved wealth and freedom before she graduated. Secretary Yu had a professional smile on his face. "You should have read the terms of the event. The prerequisite for redeeming the prize is that you must be real name and cooperate with us in publicity. If you refuse, you will be deemed to have given up your qualifications to receive the award." After hearing this, the man in the middle was obviously a little dissatisfied. "Can't you just be accommodating? Can't the sports lottery and welfare lottery allow you to receive prizes anonymously?" "I'm sorry, this is really unaccommodating." Secretary Yu's smile did not change. "If you really don't want to disclose your identity, the only way is to give up receiving the award." The girl pulled the middle-aged man's arm and said, "Dad, it's okay to accept the prize with your real name. Not all overseas lotteries accept the prize publicly." Seeing that Secretary Yu was resolute, the middle-aged man walked down the steps without saying anything else. "As for giving up the award, that is impossible." The process of receiving the award was simpler than Yuan Kun imagined. After confirming his identity, taking a few photos of receiving the award, and conducting an interview for half an hour, Kudong Group awarded him the 800,000 bonus. On the card. Why 800,000? Because there is also a 20% unexpected income tax deducted. When Yuan Kun walked out of the office building, he was still in a daze and had an unreal feeling. He took out his bank card from his arms, but the light bank card seemed as heavy as 1,000 pounds. There are 830,000 yuan in this card, 800,000 yuan bonus and the 30,000 yuan he finally saved after working for 2 years. The current average house price in Shanghai is about 20,000 yuan, which is enough to buy a small apartment with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room near the outer ring road. Yuan Kun walked aimlessly. He has lived in Shanghai for 2 years. The impression of the city on him has always been cold, but now he feels a sense of intimacy. He can now have a foothold in the city. The Spring Festival holiday passed in the blink of an eye, and Yuan Kun came to the company early on the 6th day of the Lunar New Year. Although he had thought about resigning once he got rich, he left his resignation letter on his boss's desk. But the reality is that the bonus may not even be enough to buy a small apartment in the outer ring. If not, you may need to borrow some money. So in order to survive, he has to continue to be a social animal for the time being. Sister Zhang, did you get the 5 blessings on New Year's Day? The chances of getting the Jingyi blessing skyrocketed at the last moment, with more than 900,000 being issued in less than an hour. I also collected all the 5 blessings, but I only drew 6.6. How many did you draw? I drew 188. Then you're in luck. Several female colleagues in the office were discussing the WUFA lottery draw. Yuan Kun glanced at the beautiful girl sitting at the desk nearby, hesitated and said, Xiaoying, do you have time on the weekend? Liang Xiaoying smiled and did not answer. Instead, she asked, are you okay? Although Yuan Kun never showed it, she could feel that the other party had a good impression of her. However, the other party was never within her consideration. Liang Xiaoying knew Yuan Kun's details very well. My family is in a rural area and the conditions are average. It is impossible for the other party to buy a house in Shanghai with his financial strength. Yuan Kun nodded and said, well, I made an appointment with an agent to view the house this weekend. I'm afraid I won't think it through on my own, so I want you to give me a reference. Viewing a house? Yuan Kun, do you want to buy a house? Liang Xiaoying raised her voice in surprise. The surrounding colleagues were alerted and looked at the two of them. A male colleague asked curiously, Yuan Kun, where did you get so much money to buy a house? The down payment alone must be 4 to 5 million. During the Chinese New Year, I won $1 million red envelope during the 5 fortunes. After deducting taxes, I got 800,000 yuan. With a little loan, I could buy a small 2-bedroom apartment in the outer ring. Yuan Kun didn't hide anything and directly told him about winning the prize. Secretary Yu told them during the prize redemption that the winner's information would be disclosed to the public soon, so they couldn't hide it even if they wanted to. After hearing this, my colleagues were all envious. Holy shit, 1 million red envelopes. Yuan Kun, you are so lucky. Why am I not so lucky? A middle-aged female colleague glanced at Liang Xiaoying and said, Xiaoying, don't you have a boyfriend yet? Why don't you consider Xiao Yuan? After hearing this, Liang Xiaoying smiled sheepishly, and then said to Yuan Kun, then I will help you be a consultant, but don't blame me if you don't do it well. Yuan Kun looked at the smiling Liang Xiaoying and suddenly remembered what Buffett said. The first core of a family is always finances, not emotions. On the day after the Spring Festival, which was the 2nd day of the Lunar New Year, Zhou Ziyu returned to Hong Kong Island by private jet. Li Jie accompanied her to Hong Kong Island and stayed with her there for a few days. After he returned to the Shanghai Stock Exchange on the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, he immediately made an appointment with Pony Ma. Li Jie and Xiao Ma Ji chatted from noon to evening. No one knows what the two talked about. But soon, Kudong Group and Penguin Company announced at the same time that they would jointly establish a new company, Kyuksin Communication Technology Co., Limited Kuliao, and WeChat have since officially merged and been renamed Kyuksin. As soon as the news was announced, there was a stir inside and outside the industry. This means that after more than a year of fighting between Kudong Group and Penguin, both parties finally chose win-win cooperation. This ending exceeded many people's expectations. Kakao has completely occupied the mobile instant messaging market and is about to kill WeChat. Why does Li Jie choose to cooperate? If we can monopolize the market, who would be willing to compromise? Because it is abnormal and unreasonable, many conspiracy theories have popped up on the internet. It is said that Li Jie was threatened by the forces behind Penguin Company and had to compromise. Amid all the commotion, Kudong Group and Penguin Company broke another big news. The two parties will cooperate to create a new model of e-commerce platform, Pink6C, and officially enter the e-commerce field. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 609. Kudong Group and Penguin Company are joining forces to enter e-commerce. This news once again caused great shock inside and outside the industry, and also dumbfounded Jack Ma, who was watching. Why did I eat melon and get it on myself? There is a term in the internet industry called BAT. Refers to the three giants of the internet, Baidu, Ali, and Penguin. Kudong Group has developed rapidly in the past 2 years. It has caught up with first-tier internet companies such as Xinlang, Sohu, and 360, and has a vague tendency to jump to fourth place. Now the second child and the fourth child join forces to deal with the third child. This situation is very interesting. What? Why is the Penguin the second oldest? Because Baidu, as the pioneer of the domestic internet, has not declined at this time. Last year, its market value surpassed Penguin and ranked first. He is not the fallen brother of later generations whose market value is less than a fraction of Penguin. Baidu has fallen behind in the mobile internet era and has fallen behind the times. Facing the alliance between Penguin and Kudong Group, the two e-commerce giants Ali Group and Gaodong became nervous, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Penguin and Kudong Group are both media giants. Once the two parties join forces, it is equivalent to completely opening up the industry chain and becoming unstoppable. In fact, Penguin has always had an e-commerce dream, just like Ari has always had a social dream, which has never changed. In 2005, PaiPai.com launched Kakao Mall in 2010, and in 2011, it successively invested in B2C e-commerce platforms such as Yugzun and Meimeibayo. However, the e-commerce business involves a wide range of issues, including supply chain and other matters that Penguin is not good at, leading to repeated defeats. In fact, when Li Jie had a secret conversation with Xiao Ma, the two had a very difficult time discussing compromise and cooperation in the field of mobile instant messaging. They were at odds over the distribution of equity, but they hit it off when it came to cooperation in the e-commerce field. It's true that Kakao defeated WeChat, but Penguin did not completely fail. The mobile version of Kakao still occupies a huge market share and has the ability to fight again. Li Jie gained the upper hand only after he showed his sincerity and strength by showing the mature version of Ding Deng. Compromise and peace can only exist on the premise of equal strength. If the strength is not equal and you want to achieve peace, you have to be a dog. Penguin is willing to compromise because a long-term fight like this will do no good to anyone and will only hurt both sides. What's more, the higher UPS don't want the two sides to continue fighting. After Xiao Ma's concession, Li Jie also gave in the e-commerce area. Penguin accounted for 52% of Pink6C's equity distribution and Kudong Group accounted for 48%. Pink6C's core competitive advantage is social networking and e-commerce. To put it simply, social fission is viral spread. This marketing model has contributed to the rapid rise of Pink6C, but it has also attracted criticism and disgust from consumers. After this model spread in later generations, it made the entire internet a mess. If Richard Liu hadn't been too shrewd, played equity tricks, and just wanted to use his investment in vain, Li Jie wouldn't have gone to Pinxixi. This thing ruins the reputation too much. After Pinxixi goes public, he will gradually cash out and leave. Choosing to give up the controlling stake also intends to let Penguin take the lead. In fact, not only Pinxixi, but also Li Jie will cash out and leave after companies such as Qxin, Kudong Short Video, and Kuku Entertainment go public in the future, and will only retain core industries such as Qwen Games and the overseas version of Kudong Short Video. Then use the funds to enter industry, new energy, medicine, food and beverage and other industries. The internet industry can quickly accumulate wealth, but in terms of influence, the industry has greater influence. When hundreds of thousands or millions of people depend on you for food, no one dares to underestimate you. People's ideas will change. When he first started his business, Li Jie felt that doing business was too tiring, unlike the internet where he could make money quickly and easily. But after reaching a certain level of development, he discovered the shortcomings of the internet industry, lacking innovation and technology accumulation, and having no core competitiveness. The internet industry must be integrated with industry, that is, production materials, production technology, production scale, product marketization and internet, to promote industrial transformation and upgrading. Otherwise, there will be prosperity and decline after the peak. Relying only on the demographic dividend, selling goods and vegetables online, taking taxis, and doing food delivery are not called internet technologies. They are just elementary applications of the internet. Autonomous driving, virtual reality, and brain-computer interfaces are the real internet technologies. Technology, GE, Ming that can promote industrial upgrading. In early February, Zhou Ziyu gave birth to Li Jie's eldest son at a private hospital in Hong Kong Island, named Su Yao. Li Jie walked into the delivery room and looked at Zhou Ziyu lying on the hospital bed, feeling helpless. Since you can give birth naturally, why do you need to be stabbed? Instead of waiting for normal delivery, she chose to have a cesarean section in advance. But I'm afraid of pain, Zhou Ziyu said coquettishly. Afraid of pain? Li Jie shook his head in his heart. If Xiao Qiao said that, he would definitely believe it, but with Zhou Ziyu's personality, how could he be afraid of pain? The bodyguards around her had already reported her every move to him. She was not idle during this period. She searched various fortune tellers in Hong Kong and Southeast Asia, and finally chose a good horoscope, birth time, for the child in her belly. Li Jie really didn't expect that this little fish was actually a little superstitious. How can a person's destiny be determined by a horoscope? But when he thought about his rebirth, time travel, after hesitating, he still didn't stop it. Even if it is superstition, it is not a bad thing to have a good inner suggestion. According to quantum entanglement theory, consciousness can change the state of matter. That is to say, belief is powerful. If you firmly believe that you can succeed, you are likely to succeed. When Wang Baoqiang was 8 years old, the movie Shaolin Temple was shown in the village, and he came up with the idea of becoming a kung fu star. He cried at home and wanted to go to the Shaolin Temple to practice martial arts, and then become a kung fu star. No matter how much his parents beat and scolded him, he insisted on going. After half a month of this, his parents reluctantly agreed, but they refused to send him to the Shaolin Temple, let alone pay him the fare. Perhaps in their eyes, Wang Baoqiang's dream is too unrealistic, and his family's conditions are so poor that they have no money to waste on him. Wang Baoqiang could only borrow dozens of yuan from relatives for the fare, and at the age of 8, he went to the Shaolin Temple alone. In Shaolin Temple, he had to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock every day to practice martial arts, which was very hard. This kind of life lasted for 6 years, and during this period, his parents never visited him once. At that time, the temple would give Wang Baoqiang and the others some living expenses every month. Other brothers would use the money to go down the mountain to buy some food to improve their lives. But Wang Baoqiang used the money to rent a camera, buy film, shoot and develop it. When asked by others, he confidently said, "This is the information to keep, and you can use it when you become a star in the future." Wang Baoqiang seems to have a strong belief that he can become a star. But in the eyes of his brothers, he is just a lunatic who loves to dream of becoming a star. 6 years later, 14-year-old Wang Baoqiang left the Shaolin Temple and went to the capital alone with 100 yuan given by his brother. In the capital, he lived in a basement with a 6-person room for 20 yuan, and was bullied and ridiculed when he worked as a group performer and a martial artist. Even at the beginning, because of his age and image, it was difficult for Wang Baoqiang to get opportunities to perform in groups. He could only wash dishes in small restaurants, work as part-time workers at construction sites to make ends meet, and spent his hard-earned money on printing resumes delivered to various crews. In the eyes of other walk-ons, he is just a wishful fool. He still wants to be a star with this image. Dream on. Wang Baoqiang persisted in this kind of life for 4 or 5 years, until by chance he was cast in The Blind Shaft by director Li Yang. In the eyes of many people, Wang Baoqiang is lucky. He was first spotted by director Li Yang and starred in The Blind Shaft and had the opportunity to enter the mainstream. Then he was spotted by Feng Gangbao and starred in A World Without Thieves famous overnight. But in Li Zhe's view, the other party's success stems entirely from his own firm belief. It's as if he is destined to become a star. Otherwise, how could an 8-year-old child continue to work hard for an illusory dream for more than 10 years, regardless of setbacks, difficulties, and people's opinions? This is something that most adults cannot do. Seeing that Li Zhe was silent, Zhou Ziyu glanced at him and said a little cautiously, "Hubby, are you angry? I was wrong. I shouldn't have made my own decision." Li Zhe came back from his thoughts and looked at her with a smile. "Making your own decisions." This little fish knew that he knew everything, yet he kept acting with him. Li Zhe sat down beside the hospital bed and held her hand. "No, I'm just worried about your health. Surgery can be very damaging to your vitality." Zhou Ziyu smiled gently, "I have consulted with the doctor. As long as the recovery is good, there will be no sequelae, and there will not even be any scars left." After a pause, she added, "Husband, I don't want to have any more children in the future. One Suyao is enough." "Suyao?" "Li Suyao," Li Zhe read softly. "This little fish has extremely high expectations for this child. It's Zhou Suyao." Seeing Li Zhe staring at her, Zhou Ziyu said with evasive eyes, "Wouldn't Junting also take the surnames Haining?" "Husband, you said you would not favor boys over girls." Li Zhe stared at her for a while, then suddenly smiled, "Okay, the child's name will be Zhou Suyao for now. However, when he turns 18, he will have to choose again." He paused and said, "The same goes for Junting." Zhou Ziyu said a little surprised, "Husband, do you agree now?" Li Zhe smiled and said, "Didn't you tell me that you won't favor boys over girls?" "Husband, you are so kind," Zhou Ziyu said movedly. "You know I'm good, don't play such tricks next time, just tell me if you have anything." Li Zhe reached out and pinched her nose. Yet Zhou Ziyu hummed lightly. After she came into contact with the upper class, she learned a lot of inside stories. Many women only have superficial beauty after marrying into wealthy families. In fact, life is not easy. Wealthy families have many rules, and every move must be controlled by the parents-in-law. They have to pay greetings sooner or later, and some even have to wash their mother-in-law's feet. And their husbands turned a deaf ear to them after the passion faded. In contrast, Li Zhe was not too indulgent towards her. It can be said that you can ask for anything. Even though she kept playing tricks, he never really cared about her. After Li Jie stayed with Zhou for a while, he stood up. "Husband, what are you doing?" Zhou said a little reluctantly. "I went to the nursing room to see Su Yao. I just spent time with you and I completely forgot about him. I guess he must be scolding me in his heart," Li Jie said with a sigh. Zhou was stunned for a moment after hearing this, and couldn't help bursting into laughter. Smile like a flower. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 610. In March, Star U was broadcast simultaneously on 4 major TV stations in southern Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Beijing, and Shanghai. That's 4 stars for one drama. This drama also sold for a sky-high price of 192 million, with the average of 32 episodes being 6 million per episode. You must know that the single episode of The Legend of Zhen Huan broadcast last year only reached 3.8 million. Nowadays, Liu Yufei has completely become a guarantee of ratings. The TV series she stars in are all hits, not to mention that the producer of Star U also has Li Jie's name. Li Jie rarely names film and television works anymore, but as long as it is a work that he is optimistic about, it will never fail. Therefore, others are begging TV stations to buy the drama, but Star U is being competed by the 5 major TV stations. As for the other second-tier TV stations, they do not even have the strength to participate in the competition. Star U lived up to expectations. On the day it was aired, all 4 satellite TV ratings broke 2, and a few days later it broke 3, setting off a raging wave across the country. Liu Yufei's popularity has reached its peak again, and her new co-star Yang Yang, who plays Professor Do, became an overnight sensation. Shooting locations such as Shanghai Normal University and the Bund have also become popular check-in spots for fans. In the second half of this year, Liu Yufei will have another drama called 3 Lives 3 Worlds to be aired. After these 2 dramas are aired, her popularity is expected to rise to a level that will be difficult for future generations to surpass, and her popularity will surpass that of the 4 major actresses. Among the 4 top actresses, except for one talented actress named Su, who is a bit of a celebrity and was promoted by the Beijing Circle, the remaining 3 are strong front-line existences who need popularity, reputation, and awards. Just like Zhao Yanzi's 2 Returning the Pearl became popular all over the country, and she is the only queen in the mainland who can sing, and film. In terms of popularity, she is definitely higher than Liu Yufei now. Xuangbing also took the opportunity to tie up with the 4 major Huaidens after their development slowed down around 10-11. Of course, in the eyes of Liu Yufei's fans, she has long been an international superstar who can punch and kick the 4 major stars. Speaking of the fighting power of celebrity fans, people think of the strongest fans as talcum fans, little lions, and fireflies, but in fact the strongest fans are Liu Yufei's early fans. It's just that she made stupid moves one after another and almost lost all her popularity. However, in this life, it is really possible for her to punch Xuangbing and kick the 4 major beauties. Jiading, Tian's College. In the girls' dormitory, Chai Xiaoyan was dressing up with a makeup mirror. A roommate glanced at her and said with a smile, "Xiaoyan, have you got a boyfriend? You dress up so beautifully every day, and you are so mysterious." "No," Chai Xiaoyan denied. "No? Then who do you dress up so beautifully for to see every day? I don't have to show my beauty to others. Can't I just show it to myself?" "Xiaoyan, have you been very close to Senior Xiajin recently? Is that right?" Another roommate said tentatively. "No. Senior Xiajin and I are just ordinary friends." "Don't think too much about it," Chai Xiaoyan said calmly. "She will never show off to the outside world until she has completely taken over Xiajin. Ordinary friends, the two girls looked at each other with obvious disbelief. You dare to say that you don't have a good impression of Senior Xiaojin? Although Chai Xiaoyan and Xiaojin are very careful, there are many people in the school and there are inevitably some gossips over time. Faced with the suspicion of her two roommates, Chai Xiaoyan smiled and was about to say something when her expression suddenly changed. She covered her mouth and ran out. A few days later, Shanghai Normal University. Xiao Jiao and bodyguard Zhou Jing followed the flow of people out of the teaching building. Just when she was about to go back to the dormitory to take a look, she was suddenly stopped by a girl. Sister Xiao Jiao. Xiao Jiao stopped and took a look at the girl in front of her. Her pure face and soft and weak eyes made people feel protective. Classmate, do you have a problem with me? The girl hesitated and said, Sister Xiao Jiao, can I talk to you alone? After a pause, she added, it's about Senior Xiaojin. Xiao Jiao was stunned. What the other party said was completely beyond her expectation. The girl nodded, seeming to be determined. My name is Chai Xiaoyan, I am also from Tian's College, and I am Senior Xiaojin's junior student. Schoolgirl. Xiao Jiao couldn't help but look at the other person again. The relationship between this girl and Xiaojin was by no means simple. Okay, let's go to the car and talk. Xiao Jiao took Chai Xiaoyan to the parking lot. Zhou Jing took out the car key and pressed it, and a black Mercedes-Benz G suddenly made a beep. Get in the car, Xiao Jiao said and got in the car first. Chai Xiaoyan's eyes lingered on the Mercedes-Benz G and then got in the car. Xiaojin took her once to ride in this Mercedes-Benz G. Tell me, what's the matter, Xiao Jiao said, looking at Chai Xiaoyan. She will not be easily deceived by appearance now. The more innocent and silly a girl looks, the more likely she is a vixen. In the words of that guy Li Jie, a skilled hunter often appears as a prey. Chai Xiaoyan did not speak, but glanced at Zhou Jing in the front row. You don't have to worry about her. Xiao Jiao stopped mid-sentence, thought for a while and said to Zhou Jing. Sister Jing, please wait for me outside the car. Zhou Jing turned around from the driver's seat and looked Chai Xiaoyan up and down. After making sure that the other party was not in any danger, she nodded to Xiao Jiao. Okay, then call me if you need anything. After Zhou Jing left, Xiao Jiao looked at Chai Xiaoyan and said, okay, there are only two of us in the car now, you can talk. Sister Xiao Jiao, I'm sorry, Chai Xiaoyan apologized as soon as she opened her mouth. Zhou Jing waited outside the car for more than 20 minutes. Just when she started to feel a little worried, Xiao Jiao and Chai Xiaoyan finally got out of the car. Chai Xiaoyan's eyes were red, as if she had just cried, while Xiao Jiao's face became ugly. Sister Xiao Jiao, I'll leave first. Chai Xiaoyan's voice was still crying. Well, you go back first. Xiao Jiao nodded. She originally wanted to drive Chai Xiaoyan back, but she gave up the idea in an instant. Seeing Xiao Jiao's cold attitude and no intention of expressing his position, Chai Xiaoyan couldn't help but have a trace of disappointment in her eyes. Seeing Chai Xiaoyan's retreating back, Xiao Jiao cursed Xiao Jin bloody in his heart. This bastard boy didn't learn the good things but the bad ones. He didn't learn any of his brother-in-law's skills, but he learned all the bad habits of flirting with women. He hooked up with a girl from the same school behind his girlfriend's back and ended up getting killed. What should he do? How should she explain to her parents? What a worry-free thing. The more Xiao Jiao thought about it, the angrier he became. He took out his cell phone and called Xiao Jin, preparing to call this kid over and teach him a lesson. However, when the call was about to be connected, she suddenly hung up the phone again and dialed Li Jie instead. After a while, the call was answered. Jiao Bao, are you looking for me? Li Jie's breathing was a little heavy, as if he was suppressing something. Xiao Jiao noticed something unusual about him and couldn't help but ask suspiciously, what are you doing? I'm working out at the gym, running. Exercise. Running. Xiao Jiao suddenly became even more angry. Li Jie, a shameless bastard, was wandering around outside in broad daylight, and even fooled her into thinking she was a fool. It was his brother-in-law who was so crooked that he led his brother-in-law into trouble. I don't care what you are doing. You have to come back to me immediately within half an hour. Half an hour? I'm here in Songjiang now. It will take at least an hour to get back, Li Jie said, a little embarrassed on the other side of the phone. An hour? No. Just half an hour. If you can't come back, just wait and kneel on the keyboard. After Xiao Jiao finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Regardless of whether Li Jie can come back within half an hour, his keyboard will be on his knees tonight. She had to show off her power once and let him know that she was not someone to be bullied. After 4 days of rest, I finally got over it. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 611. Why did Xiao Jiao suddenly become emotional again? Li Jie shook his head in his mind and put the phone back on the bedside table. Brother Jie, if something happens, you should go back quickly, Lu Yufei, who was lying in his arms, said softly. When Li Jie was on the phone just now, she was listening attentively. After hearing this, Li Jie smiled, stretched out his hand to wipe the sweat from her forehead. Don't worry, let's continue. After saying that, he turned over and pressed her underneath him again. How can he go back if he can't get up or down now? Besides, if he wanted to leave right away, wouldn't he look very henpecked? Is he the kind of person who is henpecked? At 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, Li Jie returned to the villa. As soon as he walked into the living room, he found his cheap brother-in-law kneeling on the ground dejectedly. Xiao Jiao found a wooden stick from nowhere and was scolding him. When he got angry, he would slap him with a stick. Xiaojin wanted to hide but didn't dare. She screamed when she was beaten. What's going on? Why did you hit Xiaojin? What mistake did he make? Brother-in-law, you're back. Seeing Li Jie come in, Xiaojin stood up and rushed towards him as if she had seen a savior. Xiao Jiao picked up the stick and hit his leg hard, causing him to scream. Kneel down, who asked you to get up? Don't think that you will have a backer when he comes back. After saying that, she said to Li Jie, you always spoil him, now it's better, you got into trouble. Li Jie glanced at his cheap brother-in-law who was kneeling on the ground again, and vaguely guessed something. What trouble did Xiaojin get into? What trouble did you get into? Xiao Jiao snorted coldly. He hooked up with a little girl behind his girlfriend's back and made her pregnant. Today, all the little girls came to the normal university to see me. You men don't have a good thing. You eat from the bowl and look at the pot. Isn't Wenqian beautiful enough? Not good enough? You are not satisfied yet. You still want to flirt with others and flirt with others. Damn it, are you worthy of your conscience? Scumbag. The more Li Jie listened, the more something was wrong. He felt like he was being scolded too. Why is this Xiao Jiao causing trouble to innocent people? But is this guy really innocent? Sister, brother-in-law, I know I was wrong. Xiao Jin looked pitiful. Now you know you were wrong? Why did you go there earlier? If I don't teach you a profound lesson today, how can I explain it to my parents? Xiao Jiao said and raised the stick again. This time she was really cruel, hitting each stick harder than the last. After Xiaojin received 4 or 5 blows, she couldn't bear it anymore. She jumped up from the ground and hid next to Li Jie. You still dare to hide? Sister, if I don't hide, you will beat me to death. If Xiao Jiao had dared to hit him like this when he was a child, regardless of whether he was right or wrong, Xiao Jin would have run away or resisted. But today is different from the past. He doesn't dare to offend his sister now. Okay, Xiaojin knows he was wrong, So please stop hitting him, Li Jie begged from the side. Xiaojin, hurry up and make a promise to your sister. Sister, I promise I will never act recklessly again, just spare me this time, Xiaojin said quickly. Promise, Xiao Jiao glanced at Li Jie. Can you trust your man's guarantee? Get out of my way. If you keep protecting this kid, I'll beat you too. Seeing Xiao Jiao showing off her power, Li Jie felt funny in his heart, but on the surface, he looked at Xiao Jin like a brother-in-law couldn't help you. This guy really needs to be dealt with. Next, Xiao Jin was beaten, jumping around with her head in her arms, screaming, until the stick was broken, and Xiao Jiao stopped panting. Fortunately, the stick was not too thick, and her strength was limited, otherwise this kid would have to go to the hospital. Despite this, he was still beaten with bruises all over his body. This stick is too weak. Xiao Jiao threw the broken stick aside and said to Zhou Jing, Sister Jing, go and find me a thicker branch. Sister, you're still beating me, Xiao Jing couldn't help but wailed when she heard this. Okay, I really can't fight anymore. Seeing that the beating was almost done, Li Jie stopped watching the show. The situation is already like this. It's useless for you to kill him. We'd better discuss how to solve it. You, just protect him, Xiao Jiao glared at him. Li Jie smiled, pulled her back to the sofa and sat down, and then said to Xiaojin, who was still standing cautiously, Xiaojin, please sit down too. Why are you sitting here? How can he be qualified? Xiao Jiao said coldly. Xiaojin glanced at her and smiled, brother-in-law, I'd better stand. What's going on with that girl? Li Jie asked. She is a schoolgirl 1 year younger than me, her name is Chai Xiao Yan. Xiaojin paused and said, brother-in-law, you have actually met her. When Xiao Jiao heard this, he immediately turned to look at Li Jie. Why, you already knew this? How would I know? I just saw him with a little girl. Hearing Xiaojin mention this, Li Jie was immediately impressed. Last Christmas Eve, when he accompanied Sun Wanning to the cinema to watch a movie, he bumped into this kid with a girl from elementary school. He was a little worried at that time and even gave the other party a few words of advice. Unexpectedly, he still caused trouble. Didn't you tell me that you are wholeheartedly devoted to Wen Qian? Is this how you are wholeheartedly devoted? Brother-in-law, I really never thought about betraying Xiao Qian. Xiaojin sighed, her face full of tangles and complexity. We drank some wine that night, and I didn't know why I couldn't control myself. Don't put all the blame on the wine. You just used the wine as an excuse, Xiao Jiao said, dissatisfied. After listening to this, Li Jie was thoughtful. So you've only had sex once? Well, just once, Xiaojin promised. When exactly did it happen? February 14 th. No 14, Xiao Jiao couldn't help but raise his voice. Xiaojin, you are quite capable. Why don't you spend Valentine's Day with your girlfriend and go out to have fun? Xiaojin said a little aggrievedly, I made an appointment with Xiao Qian to spend Valentine's Day together, but her company asked her to go back and work overtime. I felt quite unhappy at the time, so you called that elementary school girl over to fill the vacant seat? Okay, Li Jie interrupted Xiao Jiao. Jiao Bao, you go back to your room first, Xiaojin and I will talk alone. Okay, I'll leave this kid to you. Xiao Jiao glared at Xiaojin again, got up and went upstairs. It's just cheating, but this guy Xiaojin actually killed someone, which is troublesome. Especially Chai Xiao Yan's attitude was obviously unwilling to abort the child. She didn't know how to handle it, so she could only leave it to Li Jie. Seeing Xiao Jiao's figure disappearing at the top of the stairs, Li Jie withdrew his gaze and said with a smile, your sister is gone, so stop standing and sit down. Thank you, brother-in-law. Xiaojin sat down on the sofa opposite and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. His sister is really scary when she is fierce. Li Jie looked at the miserable bruises on his cheap brother-in-law's body, and asked the bodyguard to take the medicine box over, find a bottle of Yunnan Bio and handed it to him. Please put some medicine on first. Xiao Jiao has already acted bad, and as a brother-in-law, he has to be responsible for playing red. Brother-in-law, you are so kind to me, Xiao Jin said touchedly as she took the medicine. Although the elder sister is a bit like a real sister, the brother-in-law is definitely a real brother-in-law. This kid doesn't know yet, but he has been tricked by his sister and brother-in-law. Li Jie glanced at his cheap brother-in-law, grinning in pain while spraying medicine on his body. Have you thought clearly in your mind? Which one do you choose, Wen Qian or Chai Xiao Yan? After hearing this, Xiaojin stopped and her expression became entangled again. After hesitating for a while, he tentatively said, Brother-in-law, can I choose both? Li Jie stared at him for a long time, until he averted his eyes with a guilty conscience, and then said calmly, yes, as long as you can take care of both of them. Xiaojin sighed in frustration, brother-in-law, I'm not as capable as you. I'd better choose, senior. Li Jie nodded, it seems that you are still somewhat awake and not completely dizzy.